Welcome guys, welcome everyone. Welcome to my series of videos on servlets and JSPs. And we are going to continue the last video on send redirect and form methods of get and post. And in this video, we will be continuing the discussion that we had in the last video. In the last video, we discussed about the idea of uh, receiving the data into the login servlet and then getting it verified from the database and then working on how to forward it to another page. In the last video, we have created two separate pages. They were separate servlet for success page and separate servlet for failure page. We have called them as welcome and error. Okay, and we also have discussed about the idea of three different ways of changing pages in web servlets. So we have discussed about send redirect. We discussed about how to implement send redirect. Especially we have implemented for login page, where we have discussed about whenever the user verification fails, we will redirect them back to login page where they can edit, where they can enter the data once again. And we briefly discussed about the theoretical aspects of what is forward, what is include, what will happen, how to write it, and etc. And in this video, we will be discussing about their respective implementations in code. We also discussed about methods get and post in the last video. If you have any doubt there, please go back and revisit the video. So let us now continue with forward. So this is our program. We are continuing to the login servlet for now. Okay, and as we already discussed, welcome servlet is our welcome page and error servlet is our error page, where for error servlet the URL mapping is login error and welcome servlet URL mapping is just welcome. So while I was creating this welcome servlet and error servlet, I also have included do get and do post so that I can deal with the post behavior only. Okay, so let us go back to the login servlet. Okay, we have implemented this redirect. What we have to do to implement forward and include behaviors. Okay, to provide forward and include behaviors, the steps are very simple. First, we have to create welcome servlet and error servlet. Okay, second thing that we have to do is we have to provide that logic of creating a request dispatcher object and then accordingly providing the other data. Let me write down the steps for you so that it is easier for you to implement as well. Okay, so how are we going to implement? The first step is steps to implement forward and include. Okay, first step is create separate pages for result. Okay, we will be creating welcome page and error page, or let us call it as login error page. Okay, welcome and login error. Then the second thing that we have to do is update login servlet class with request dispatcher code. Okay, for this you just have to write request dispatcher forward. So we will write forward in forward if user verification user is verified. Okay, include login.html if user is not verified. This is the behavior that we want. Okay, so forward to welcome if user is not verified. Okay, uh, show error message and include login.html if not verified. Okay, that is what we are going to do. So that is what I would like to show here. In success page, we want login successful and provider include home page, which is our welcome page, and login failed, login form once again if it is a failure page. For that, we have to create these two separate files once again. Sorry, we have to create these separate files. I have already created this welcome servlet and error servlet. I will show you one brief example of how to do it for welcome servlet, and you can do the same thing for error servlet. I will this time give a different name for my servlet so that it does not have any clashes with my existing welcome servlet. Let us call this as home servlet. I am calling home servlet as my class name, and I am putting it in my package com.vikas. Okay, and let us go next. And here you can see this URL mappings. We are going to edit this URL mapping so that I give a different name to this particular servlet. I'm going to the next. Sorry, you have to click this URL mapping, click on this edit button, and now we can change this home servlet URL mapping to a different URL mapping. I'm giving the URL mapping as home. Okay, and then click OK. Now your URL mapping for this servlet has changed. Now click next. We don't want constructors, but we want doPost and doGet. So click finish. And you can see this is our home servlet class, but its URL mapping is just home. Okay, this is the important part, guys. Let us remove the comment lines, auto-generated comment lines. And I also want you to observe that it has generated as a doGet method and it has generated as a doPost method. Okay, in doGet auto-generated code, we don't need it. I'm deleting it. In doPost, I am deleting this comment line, which I don't need. But I also want you to observe that this doPost method is automatically generated with this code doGet, which is the exact thing that we discussed in the last video. Okay, and I also want you to observe this @web servlet annotation that we have discussed in one of the earlier videos. Okay, this is the URL mapping of home servlet, in the sense whenever you want to redirect or whenever you want to forward or include home servlet anywhere in the code, you will be using this as the name. Okay, so whenever you are using this, it will be visible in our URL at the time of execution. Okay, so this is how you have to create your welcome servlet and error servlet. And make sure that you have deleted the unnecessary extra comment lines, as well as remove the internals of the doGet, internals of the internal comment of the doPost. Okay, just clean it up like this. Okay, so let me show you my welcome servlet. It looks like this. Okay, welcome servlet and its URL mapping is welcome. Error servlet is this with URL mapping as login error. Let me close my home servlet. And now in welcome servlet, what are we going to present? In welcome servlet, we want to present mainly two informations. Okay, in welcome servlet, we want to show this message called login successful, as well as we want to show some kind of user account related details. Okay, so in doGet method, what we are going to add? So what are we going to do here? We want from this login servlet page, we want it to be forwarded to welcome servlet. Okay, from login servlet it has to be forwarded to welcome servlet, and welcome servlet should show login successful as well as welcome to that email address. Okay, so the greeting message should be visible in the welcome servlet. That means this message that we are seeing here should be presented here in the welcome servlet. If we want to present this in the welcome servlet, first of all, we need the output variable, out variable here, which is our print writer, as well as email variable, which we are currently in our login servlet, we are receiving with the help of this get parameter. Okay, so this data should be available there. So what we are going to do is here, okay, here we are writing this message. Okay, this anyhow we have already copied to the welcome servlet. Okay, it is giving errors for now, it's okay, we will correct that. Okay, what we are going to do is we are going to provide one by one whatever it is needed. Okay, we know that setting the content type will make sure that output is properly printed. Okay, so we will be copying that, as well as we need print writer out object so that we can call out.print, so we will be copying that. Okay, this much is definitely needed, so let me copy that and put it in my welcome servlet. Okay, now out error is gone. Going back to the login servlet, what else is needed? In welcome servlet, we need this email address. Okay, currently email address is not declared here and we are not having any value in it. So let us go to the login servlet, and in login servlet, we will take this part. Okay, we will get the data. Okay, sorry, I will get the data. Okay, so that part again I will be putting in the welcome servlet at the beginning. Okay, now what is happening? There is no errors definitely. Let me format my code. Okay, there is definitely no errors. I have got the data from the user. Let me stop my execution for now. Okay, I have got the data from the user, and I am setting the content type, and I am creating this print writer object which I will be using to send this welcome message to the user. Now because I am printing this welcome message in the welcome servlet, do I need to provide this again in the login servlet? Particularly not. Okay, it is not needed, but rather we will be sending it, we will be forwarding this page, we will be forwarding this to the success page. And so let me delete this comment line because we are not doing printing message here, but rather we will be forwarding. Let me delete this here, as well as we will be deleting this letter. Why I am not deleting here? Because I want to show you that when we are using forward, then the current content will be replaced by the newer content of the destination page. Okay, so I will keep this page, keep this welcome message right now, and we will create the request dispatcher object with which we will connect to welcome servlet and then forward to welcome servlet. Okay, so that is the next step. Okay, we have created this separate servlet pages. We have created the separate servlet pages, and then we are updating the login servlet class with request dispatcher code. Okay, that is the part that we are going to do. So we have to create request dispatcher object. So here I'm writing request dispatcher. Okay, and this request dispatcher is available in a package called javax.servlet. Okay, we have to import that javax.servlet. Let us import it. Import javax.servlet dot request dispatcher. Okay, sorry, I think I have already imported it. This is R1. Okay, javax.servlet.request dispatcher. Okay, now after importing it, we have this RD variable, and we are doing what we are saying. We have to get this request dispatcher. Where are we going to get this request dispatcher from? We have to get it from request object. Request object dot get request dispatcher, and In get request dispatcher, we have to supply the resource name. What is the destination page where we have to forward to? Okay, so we want to forward it to welcome servlet. But for welcome servlet, we have given the URL pattern as welcome with all letters small. This is the URL pattern you have to copy and paste it here within the double quotes. It is very important step, guys. If you are writing the class name and if your URL pattern and class name are not same, it will give errors. Okay, so keep this in mind. Here in the double quotes, we are supplying the resource page, and resource page means URL pattern of that particular resource, of that particular page. Okay, it is very important. And after that, what we are going to do, we are just going to say rd dot forward and supply request response to this particular statement. That's it, guys. So what will happen? What will happen at this particular state? It is getting the details, sending the data to the user for verification purposes, and after that it is printing this welcome message, and then it is connected to the welcome page, which is our welcome servlet here. Let me save this. Okay, and then that page is connected to the request dispatcher, and then we are forwarding to that page. Okay, so what when we discussed about the idea of this, just a minute. Yes, so when we discussed about this idea of forward, we discussed that current page content is replaced by the content of the destination page. Okay, so that is what we are going to observe. Okay, so we have to observe that in this login servlet we are having this welcome message, and in welcome servlet also we are having this welcome message. Okay, but we will observe that it is showing only one welcome message on the result page. Let us try running it. Okay, there is one more change, guys. There is one more small change. What is that? See, let me just explain what is the flow of the order. Okay, from login page, user is clicking on the submit button after entering the details, and then it will go to the login servlet, and because the method is post, it will not show any of the details in the URL. Then it will go to the login servlet. In login servlet, it will take the data, it will set the content type, it will get the print writer object, and it will verify the user details. After the verification, it will print this message to the login servlet, and then it will be forwarded to the welcome servlet. When it is forwarded to the welcome servlet, it will go to welcome servlet. Again, it will try to get the email, then set the content type for that welcome servlet, and then create the print writer object, and then with the help of the print writer object, it will print the email message, welcome message. Okay, so let us run it. Let me close older web browser tabs, and then I'm entering the correct information. Okay, when I click on the login button, I want you to closely observe the URL as well as the result. Okay, I'm clicking on the login button. This is showing login servlet as the URL. Okay, and it is showing welcome with the email address, correct email address. That means login was a success. Okay, now let us go back to the code. So in login servlet, we already had this. How do we know whether it is coming from login servlet or it is coming from welcome servlet? Okay, so in welcome servlet, I will also add one more message just to make sure that whether it is welcome servlet output or login servlet output. Okay, because in the URL we don't see welcome servlet, or we don't see this welcome URL mapping. Okay, so we will print something else. Out dot print, and I want to print h1 tag, okay, and I want to print login successful, and it with a semicolon. Okay, so suppose if it is printing login successful along with welcome email, it means this message is coming from welcome servlet. If it is only printing welcome message, then it must be coming from login servlet. Okay, let us go back and observe that. Go back, refresh. I'm entering the details, entering correct information of password. Okay, and I want you to observe, clicking login button. Guys, see, it is still the login servlet in the URL, but it is showing this login successful message along with this welcome message. That means the result is coming from welcome servlet, though in the URL it is still showing the login servlet only. That way we can hide the internal code, or we can hide the pages which are actually showing the result to the user, and that way we are just improving the security of our project. Okay, but another thing I want you to observe, that our welcome message is only one message. There is only one output on the screen. There are no two outputs, and it it clarifies one fact, and that fact is it is overriding, in the sense existing content of the web page is replaced by the new content of the welcome page. That is something you need to understand. And because existing content is getting replaced, this statement in login servlet is useless, so we are going to delete it. Okay, now some of you may be having another doubt. If we are not printing anything on the inside this particular page, then do we need this set content type? For now we will keep it. Why? Because in the else part we will be now implementing the include behavior. Okay, so now let us go to the else part. Okay, so now let us implement the include behavior. In the last video we discussed about, even before the send redirect video, we discussed about enabling this print statement where it was printing this wrong login credentials message if user is not verified. Okay, if user is not verified, how are we doing it? We are printing this information as a red color message. Okay, but we also have discussed that if we are using this send redirect, then it means that it is taking you back to the login page. Okay, this and this will not work together. Okay, if you are including a print statement, then it will not be redirected. If you are providing a redirect, then you should not be printing anything. That is the plain simple idea. Let me show you. Now I have enabled this print statement, as well as there is a send redirect. Will it be redirected? Let us test it. I'm going to main page, refresh. I'm going to enter wrong password so that it goes to the else part. User will not be verified. It will go to the else part. It has to redirect to login page. Okay, I'm clicking on the login button. Wow. Okay, maybe I misunderstood that. Sorry guys, my mistake. Okay, it seems it's redirecting. If it is redirecting, then if it is redirecting, then this message